that got the old HR up. Let's fucking go. Hurrah, 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 hurrah. Close that. Close that. Yo! Holy shit. Let's get locked in here. Let's get locked in here. We're in a post Dune 2 world now, folks. We're in a post Dune 2 world now. Woo, doggy. This is crazy. Look at this. This fucking Hulu shit. This makes me want to peel my fucking eyes on my Dune Part 2. Currently sitting at a 4.6 out of 5 on Letterboxd. What do we think? Is this review bombing? Could this be considered as review bombing? Like positive review bombing? Like, obviously, I feel like this film will inevitably get eye rolls. It'll inevitably get overrated. It'll become, you know, like The Dark Knight. I'm not saying it's as good as The Dark Knight, but it'll be like a really high-rated, IMDb high-rated, like normie-ass movie. And it'll inevitably, people will be like, it's not that good. It's good, but it's not that good. Because some of the shit I've been seeing is crazy. Like, people were talking about they were crying while watching, which actually, that's fine. It was just the parts that they were crying. Like, someone was like, I had tears in my eyes, and I was crying when they were floating up the rocks. And I'm like, I feel like that was in the first movie. I rated the first movie 3.5 out of 5. I liked the first movie. I was like surprised how not bad it was. That's another part of this, is that, okay, this is just awful. The green, we're going back to this. That was the other thing that was prominent about this movie, was that it avoids all the negative things that you'd usually like get with a blockbuster movies nowadays. There would be stupid diversions in the story that are not interesting, or the story itself would not be interesting, like Guardians 3, in my opinion. I know people are gonna get pissed about that. Oh, it's so good. It's the best movie ever. Just shut up. I didn't ask. I'm making my points on YouTube. Where the fuck was I? Right. The story's dog shit. There's fucking dumb editing or stupid music choices or just cringe bullshit in the acting, the writing, whatever. That happens, right? We're just used to a lot of bullshit, right? We're just used to a lot of bullshit. But the thing that Villeneuve, you know, does, and hey, like, I'll be real. When I saw he was making Dune, I was like, why, dude? Why do we have to keep doing these fucking remakes? When I heard that it was like, oh, the first book's gonna be in 2 parts, I was like, good luck with that. Like, the first movie's gonna be half of a book that doesn't end. And lo and behold, that did not matter, because the first movie was solid, and it set up for a sequel that we all knew was coming. We knew there was a sequel coming. I think it was literally greenlit the same weekend Dune 1 came out in 2021. When I saw Dune 1, like I said, like, all of this shit that's in Dune 2 that's good about it is also in Dune 1. This is like the new Yeet album in a way, because it's like, you're all appreciating this one, but that's the same reason I liked the previous work. The first one, really good sound design, characters, performances, visual effects, storytelling, editing, all of these things. Really compelling for me. More compelling than it really should have been. Denis Villeneuve fucking does this shit so well, where he's able to make a certain brutalism evoke out of his films. Prisoners, Enemy, Arrival, all this shit. It all has a certain like edge to it. Blade Runner, the fucking scene where they're fighting in that submarine, and there's just like one like bright ass fluorescent, like, you know, hospital ass bulb lighting up the whole thing, and they're both robots just punching each other in the water, and the sound design, the music. I mean, it's like, dude knows how to do this shit, and he also knows how to add a certain spiritualism to it as well. Even in Blade Runner 2049, the sort of temple that Jared Leto's character lives in, all of the design has this style, you know, and that's why Dune Part 1 was so just like kind of surprisingly not bad. I'm not being condescending when I say like it's surprising how not bad it was, because like for a movie of this scale, that does mean something. If you're making a movie of this scale, you know, there has to be a cohesive kind of atmosphere and world to your movie, and I think that's something that like a lot of modern blockbusters don't do well. It's part of the reason why I liked Annihilation so much, as well as Ex Machina. There's a certain coldness, there's a certain undergirding fear, an anxiety, a paranoia, but at the same time kind of like a spiritual sort of like transcendence of like the future is so godlike in comparison to the past, and human beings are able to transcend further out of their atmosphere into space, into other galaxies. It almost becomes like this sort of demigod aristocracy that the Dune world kind of has. I'm trying to find my fucking review. Here it is. This was my review. Villeneuve continues to avoid making bad films and great films. They are mostly good to pretty good. This one is just good. It has a confident cinematic style and sleek design. It is well cast and well edited, sweeping into the hour 30 mark without dragging in the slightest. The appeal of Dune for me is less the overall story and more the world building. This film focuses mostly on the former despite being only one half of the first book. It nearly touches something interesting but inevitably suffers from the same slightly desaturated, slightly soft sensibility all modern blockbusters suffer from. Worth a watch if you like the director's previous films or if you're a fan of the genre of science fiction. Go figure. So that was my 3.5 star review of Dune from 2021 when I watched it. And I have to say that is still my only remaining critique of these modern movies is everything looks a little too good. We've lost the shadow. We've lost the grit of film a little bit. And it's here in Denis' sort of like glossy brutalism. It's still there. You know, that edge, that impact and intensity of the montage. You know, his edits are phenomenal. His shot composition and language is all fantastic and very pleasing. And it truly is something. This is way better than some shit that fucking, what are the Russo brothers directed? You know? This is far better than any of that shit. That's why this first Dune movie was appealing, because it was like, you know, people were talking about crying about seeing the guys floating. There's so much cool shit like that in this movie. And going back, I think people are going to appreciate Dune 1 a lot more than they did maybe when it first came out, even though it was popular when it came out. But the performances, the world building, it felt like they made Dune 1 and Dune 2 at the same time. But they were made with the equal amount of skill. I think just Dune Part 2 includes the most exciting chapters of the book. It just includes the best parts of the story. They had a good ass script. It's the highest selling sci-fi novel of all time. It's what inspired Star Wars. You know what I mean? It's like the pinnacle of science fiction. And I'm not gonna lie, man, I didn't realize like Dune's like a better story than Star Wars. Star Wars wishes it was Dune. Like, do you realize that? That's what I just realized. It's like George Lucas grew up reading Dune. So yeah, Star Wars is phenomenal. It's one of the greatest stories, and you know, it's like one of the most popular fables of the modern, you know, era or whatever the fuck. But like, it's all inspired by Dune, which was made by like a fucking genius. The IMAX experience, like seeing Tenet in 70mm, it was like, dude, this is how you're supposed to see Tenet. 1,000,000% this is how you're supposed to see Tenet. Dune 2 in IMAX? Dune 2 in IMAX? The sound design, the music, the visuals, incredible. And dude, I had a fucking perfect seat. So let's talk about Dune Part 2 now. Someone's asking, where did all the hype for Dune 2 come from? It came from Dune Part 2. I'm not gonna lie. It came from the movie being good. Yes, the popcorn bucket, ha ha ha. But that movie carried itself on its own legs, baby. I'm not gonna lie, man. It earned the hype. So let's talk about it. I'm gonna say, that's the 5th time I've said let's talk about it. I got tickets to this in IMAX first weekend. And I bought them like in the middle of the week. You need to buy these fuckers in advance because most of the seats are sold out. All the seats up to the screen were booked. Someone was watching this shit with a fucking neck brace, man. I'm not joking. The last movie I had to do this for was Avengers Endgame, to be honest. So I got tickets for 8:30 a.m. 8:30 a.m. Where? Like near your house? No. Nope. Fucking Times Square. Times Square is where I saw this film. Do you live close to Times Square? No, I don't. I don't live close to Times Square at all. I had to get up at 6:45 a.m. Was the weather Nope. Rain. Pouring rain. Pulled up to the theater. I was bleezing, as it were. So the screening was at 8:30 a.m. Got there a little like 8:38. I got to my seat. 9 a.m. is when the movie started. Movie was scheduled for 8:30. The previews did not end until 9. It definitely hit me pretty hard. It's a really, really, really strong, popular film. It is just a crowd-pleasing piece of pop cinema. It is a blockbuster film. It has earned its hype to the point where, you know, before going into the film, hearing these things about being compared to Lord of the Rings or being compared to Star Wars, or could be, you know, I was like, okay, this is really not going to be that good because there's no way. It's just a dumb generation going to see a movie, glazing it too much, right? Well, no, that's not the case. Even though I said, like, everything looks too clean in modern blockbusters, everything's a little too sleek, the costumes look a little, they don't look real dirty, they look like prop dirty, like everything just kind of, you know, because of the sort of, like I said, sleek brutalism that Villeneuve is able to wield over not just the aesthetics and the atmosphere, but also the story itself and the edit and the montage. I don't think, you know, Dune 1 is as good as Fellowship. It's really just the strength of Dune 2, which in essence is really just the strength of the book Dune, you know, the climaxing story beats of Dune, you know what I mean? So if Dune 1 had tried to just make this entire movie in one go, it may not have been able to do that. And, you know, it's like, it's just hard to compare the story kind of adaptation and the quality therein. It's calling back to the times of like Spider-Man 1 and like The Matrix and even the prequels to some degree. But that's my whole point, is like some of these movies, like Lord of the Rings, like they are not paced as well as this movie. For an audience to be engaged this hard throughout the whole thing, I mean, there really is not a second of downtime. By the way, Timothée Chalamet is now a generational icon. This is full-on nostalgia core for the next generation. This will be a generational icon for sure. And Villeneuve with this shit, like, he's sealed. To the industry, he might as well be Steven Spielberg at this point. Or James Cameron. This shit's going to cook. This thing might top Avatar. The fucking way this is gonna sweep the imagination of the world, everyone involved's going to be immortalized by this movie, because genuinely it just is a really kind of flawless blockbuster movie. It does not have a lot of flaws. It starts with that sort of, you know, swiftness that you're used to with really good sequels. You know, like think of the beginning of The Dark Knight or The Avengers or even Empire Strikes Back. There's a lot of just like, the world's already built, we're already ready to go, let's have big scenes right off the bat. You know, it's kind of like that, and you're in the most critical part of the story, and all of these things come to realization and actualization in this movie. And that is something that you only to a degree got in the first one. By the way, any critiques about like what they should have chose to keep, and like, I guess that's fair, but it's like the majority of people who are seeing this have not read Dune. The fact that no one has done this before to success is crazy. You really don't have to see Dune 1. It works very well. It stands alone very well as a movie. I think it helps to see Dune 1, but like, you get what's going on the whole movie. You're not like confused. I was just kind of blown away by it. I really was. It's a fucking movie, man. It's a fucking movie. It's just exactly what you want out of just epic sci-fi action cinema. It's just what you want. The whole design is, it's just fantastic, dude. It's just a fantastic movie. It's a generational picture, and I could see this being The Empire Strikes Back to this generation. I could see it meaning that. It's kind of nuts. It's really, I just did not expect it to be this good. I didn't expect it to be this effective. I didn't expect to be so invested, to feel so invested in the world and to want to know more. You know, I even thought Christopher Walken did a really good job. It's cool seeing Christopher Walken in a role like this. I feel like I don't really get to see him in serious roles a lot, so this was really cool. Florence Pugh, she needs to work with better directors, because Villeneuve got a performance out of her that was spectacular. Even just the bit she was in the movie, she's fantastic. So is Dave Bautista. I love Dave Bautista. Zendaya did a really good job. I really liked her grit. Truth be told, a lot of the times, like, I find her very like Disney Channel-ish in her performances. It's just something about her performance sometimes. But in this, I definitely think that she did a great job, and just like really added like this sort of reason to the chaos of the picture. Like she really grounded it in this sort of like ideological principle of the Fremen, and she kind of played this role as the skeptic credit to her. Like I said, Timothée Chalamet is going to be a generational fucking icon for this. I'm not going to lie to you. His performance is great, man. He's just a great actor. Like, he is truly just a stellar performer. He's just got that rage, like, that you need, and that explosiveness. He really has that. Credit to everyone in this movie. The fight choreo was really good. A very athletic performance by Timothée Chalamet. You know, I'm sure there was a million stunt performers that helped, but like, he does carry himself like this little slender fucking little assassin. And I know that shit's not easy. You gotta look like you're really fighting someone. It's scary. Credit to him, you know? Every part of it was just phenomenal. Rebecca Ferguson. Holy shit, dude. Dude, this movie is just a platter of phenomenal actors. I hope all these people's careers just skyrocket from this movie. Her intensity as this Bene Gesserit Reverend Mother is just, oh my god. She gave such a nuts performance as Paul Atreides' mother. Credit to her. Austin Butler, man. That dude's crazy. That dude's so nuts. It was so fun watching him be a villain, man. He has a mystical screen presence. Absolutely mystical. That kid has the fucking juice. If fucking Austin Butler and Adam Driver are in Heat 2, oh, doggy. Yeah, as Fade Rotha, he's just like this perfect psychopath. Really well done. Yeah, Leah Seydoux was also great as that Bene Gesserit. Anya Taylor-Joy randomly in it for a second, so maybe she'll be in the next movies. It's kind of crazy. I think he could probably make another one out of the third book and call it Dune Part 3 or call it Dune Messiah. It would be the second book. It would be Messiah, which I've heard is great.